God King, people. God Kingu.
Yes! Yes!
You have no idea, absolutely, utterly no idea just how impressive Shanks was in the latest chapter One Piece as of this video's recording, 1055. Shanks had the entire fandom shook, stun locked, chain comboed.
Much later.
We couldn't get out of it. And people lost their minds. Because what Shanks did, we could feel it instinctively. It was easily, by far and away, the greatest Haki feat we have ever seen in One Piece. That's just how stupendous Shanks was in the last chapter. Every era has their king. In the past, arguably, it was Gol D. Roja. And currently, it is, I would argue, without a doubt, the red hair wonder, Shanks. And not even Gol D. Roger has shown the capability of what Shanks did in the latest chapter. Now, to be fair, the man was on death's door, a year to live, when you saw him in the flashback with Oden. Divine Departure, impressive. Whitebeard Clash, very impressive. But we can, again, instinctively tell that what Shanks did in terms of sheer Haki was better than what those guys showed. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So you have to wonder, is the current king, Shanks, superior than the prior king, Gol D. Roja? That is up in the air without a doubt. So this video is gonna break down what Shanks did step by step so folks can kind of comprehend the greatness. Because this is delectable, this is juicy, this was trending, making headline news. Shanks is the one, like Neo from the Matrix, he is the one. And in theory, in the future, Luffy will be the one. But only in theory. Maybe Luffy never takes the title.
Why?
Because Shanks is truly at the pinnacle. But let's break this down step by step. And in order to understand what Shanks did, full bore, the first thing we have to go through are the logistics. Because once we break down those logistics, those numbers, then we can have a better idea here, a better mindset here of how great Shanks was in those few panels. And the first thing that matters is gonna sound like a very obvious like what question, but it's a very important question. Where is Shanks? Yes, that is the first question. Where on God's green earth is Shanks? Well, as far as we know, in chapter 1054, Shanks is, simply put, at sea near Wano country. What's important here is that we cannot see the borders of Wano country from Shanks's position. Whether it's himself or his crew or the Red Forest ship itself, we cannot see the borders of Wano country in any panel. And it just so happens that in the past, there were a similar group of ships that were in a very similar position, and those ships were the world government ships in chapter 1037. They were also known to be at sea near Wano. Now, it's safe to assume that it's not in the exact same spot, but the distance could be comparable quite easily, because in order to get to Wano country, you have to ride on a koi Magikarp, and then it takes you through this crazy sea river system, and they have to ride the waterfall. There's all sorts of weird shenanigans. But Shanks' crew, nor the government ships, none of them do that stuff. And then also, Green Bull was flying on over like Superman, dun da da. At least that's what he thought, dun da da. Because we know Shanks is the absolute kryptonite.
Help me!
This man is dark side, baby. That being said, he was flying over in chapter 1052, and it was daytime in that chapter when he was flying over. And we can kind of see the borders of Wano country, but in the next chapter when we see Green Bull in Udon, it's nighttime. So it must have taken Green Bull several hours to fly over and get to the shores of actual Wano country itself. The second thing for logistics is going to be the big man or the big girl itself, Zunisha. This is pivotal. This is super pivotal because Zunisha gives us numbers. So we know that according to the Vivid Cards, Zunisha is over 35 kilometers. That is 21.75 miles tall. Big girl, big boy. And its length is over 20 kilometers, which is around 12.43 miles minimum, meaning it's over that. So Zunisha is just as long as Manhattan. The entirety of Manhattan, the country of Zou, is actually 10 kilometers in diameter. So Zunisha is quite large, and it is the largest creature right now in the series. A healthy diet of Sky Island apples and giant seaweed. So much better than me, clearly. But that's not important. Don't worry about me. I'm fine for the most part, I think, and it's not important. My man boobs. Listen, that's not important. What's important here is this, okay? In the entire time we see it, it never breaks the mist storm-like clouds in the area around it or above it. We actually see this very clearly in 1043, where there's a small panel of it saying, "I can hear the drums liberation. This is the first time in 100 years," in the scans. And it is surrounded by this natural mist storm-like thing that kind of exists around Wano country at times. And also, a very important detail too, is that in chapter 1046, when Zunisha says in the scans, "How nostalgic that rhythm, Joy Boy, hey, Joy Boy. It's as if you're right there. How exhilarating. This all feels like fate. I can't help but think." In those panels, when Zunisha says that, notice how Zunisha is looking up. Notice how Zunisha is actually looking up, as if the borders of Wano country and that area from where it's located at that point in the sea, it's elevated from Zunisha's position. And Zunisha roughly has half its body above sea level. So in this case, it'll be 17.5 kilometers or 10.87 miles. That's exposed. But again, Zunisha never breaks the mist storm clouds that are around it. In the latest chapter 1055, Shanks' Haki clearly breaks through those storm clouds and that mist that tends to exist around the borders of Wano country. And not just break it, he shatters it. He goes so far, so fast, so good. To the point where, in the first panel, we see Shanks activate the Haki. The tallest black lightning bolt actually reaches the peak of where the Mount Fuji is. And because Zunisha is still in the thicket of this mist and these storm clouds, what we see in chapter 1043, even if you were to stack Zunisha on top of itself, it still may be not able to break this line of clouds. Do you understand what that means? That means that at a bare minimum, Shanks is covering a distance of 3 to 4 times. At a bare minimum, he is covering a distance of 3 to 4 times the exposed height of Zunisha. So let's say it's Zunisha's natural height of 35 kilometers, once again, 21.75 miles, stacked on top of the 17.5 kilometers when Zunisha's cut in half, the visible Zunisha. That's around 52.5 kilometers, or 32.6 miles. Minimum, boys and girls. That is an absurd distance, just in terms of sheer height. And that's not the most haunting part, because the most haunting part is the distance he travels to get to Wano when it comes to his Haki Skype call. Because Zunisha, again, is as long as Manhattan. In that small panel in 1043, or any panel for that matter, of Zunisha we see in this arc, how many Zunishas would it take to get to Wano Country from its location? Like a Tootsie Pop. How many licks does it take? How many Zunisha, how many 20-kilometer animals does it take? Like stack them together like a weird, gigantic, messed up centipede of elephants. How many? Oh my. Because I think it takes quite a bit of elephants to get to at least the borders of Wano Country. We know that in the Road to Laugh Tale, number 4, they talk about how Luffy's Bajrang gun was felt for at least 1,000 miles. Was Zunisha able to feel the Bajrang gun? I don't know. You tell me. Because it's actually hard to tell if all of Wano Country felt the Bajrang gun. You have to wonder. If we lowball, let's just take that number cut in half. Let's really lowball. Let's get Teletubby soft. Let's lowball this. 500 miles. Because remember, Shanks' Haki goes not only through the regular ocean at regular sea level, there's elevation that even Zunisha has to look up at. And Zunisha is 17.5 kilometers. He's 10 miles high. And then there's the freshwater ocean of Wano Country itself. And then you have to go inland. And these land masses are big, huge. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let me not try and be sexist here, okay? I'm a good YouTuber, I promise you that, all right? Pinky swear. Please. 500 miles. That's fair. At a bare minimum, that's fair. And those are the logistics, you can easily argue, for this situation involving the red hair wonder Shanks. Minimum. And now from here, we can tackle the fundamentals. Because now we can say, hold on, if this is the case here, we know in this situation, Shanks is using observation Haki to sense Green Bull. And he's sensing him from potentially hundreds of miles, if not 1,000 or 1,000 plus miles away? Like potentially all of Australia is in Shanks' scope? Minimum? With like 2,000 miles? What? This is by far the greatest observation Haki feat in the verse, even at a bare minimum of hundreds of miles. Because NL could sense the entire White Sea, but no island in that area, Upper Yard or Skypiea, is bigger than Wano Country, arguably even Onigashima. Honest to God. Upper Yard is big, but remember, it's only half of the island of Jaya. Super scaled fauna and creatures, fair enough, but it's still only half an island. And Skypiea is not that big before it was destroyed by NL. It's not huge. And the entire White Sea is large, but Shanks' Haki is making several, like 4 round trips up and down to Skypiea, just sensing him. Rarely on Ruskaina, nothing even close. Nothing even close. Fujitora and Dressrosa, not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. And also, you have to learn this too. How did Shanks know that Green Bull was a Marine? he was able to sense and then strike so quickly with that vast distance with that Skype Haki call. But how did he know that Green Bull was an enemy or even a Marine? He could have deduced it because of his actions, maybe. But also he could have actually sensed for some reason that he was a Marine. Maybe even heard, oh my goodness. Wow! Maybe even heard the things that Green Bull was saying from that distance. Like he was NL, but on roids, without 40-inch earlobes. Whoa. That is a very good question, I think. And we have to consider that he could have discerned it just by an attack on Wild Country who would use a Marine. Fair enough. But it also could have been an observation Haki deduction, specifically. So Shanks has the best observation Haki in the verse right now, confirmed. And he has, of course, the best Conqueror's Haki in the verse by far. He has the rest of the verse massively gapped. It's unbelievable. Because his Conqueror's Haki, number one, can span, and mind you, no sword too. He pinpoints it with such accuracy across that vast distance, numero uno, which is insane in of itself. But then number two, he does cause his ship, the Red Force, to somewhat capsize. In terms of force, that's pretty impressive here, because his ship is a big ship. As far as I understand, it's bigger than the Sunny Go, and the Sunny Go is actually taller than the staple, now the Crypto.com Center in Los Angeles. Something of that size was damn near capsizing because of Shanks's pure willpower. And then, of course, the Haki is potent enough to suppress an admiral like Green Bull. Understand this fact. Green Bull was going to attack Momonosuke and was transformed into his gigantic Groot form. Vin Diesel's hiding somewhere in there. I am Groot! Rah! Immediately de-transforms. Cold sweat. Oh, shiver me timbers. A sweat so cold it would still freeze in 100-degree temperatures, people. And then, hands up, don't shoot Florida style. That's a big deal. And he does this all before he even realizes that it's the red hair pirates. So it was the pure will of Shanks and Shanks alone that subdued the world government's, quote, greatest military powers, end quote. The world government has said before that the admirals are their greatest military force. And one of their greatest military forces bend the knee like Shanks was Daenerys Targaryen from deep rage. Wasn't even in the same country. And he still bent the knee.
He's bent the knee.
I can't. So here is a question that is without a doubt in the air. Without a doubt. If Aramaki was in close proximity to Shanks, could he still maintain his consciousness? That is, oh my god, King, how could you? No. No. That is a very fair question at this point in time, without a doubt. When it comes to Conqueror's Haki potency, precision, and even duration, because it sticks around Green Bull for the entire speech, and normally it comes out in waves, like pulses. No. Shanks' Haki sticks around. The lightning bolts like linger and hover on Green Bull like, Green Bull, man, what's up, dog? Huh? You gonna stay here and try and take all these sprouts, huh? Help me! The greatest Conqueror's Haki feat in the verse by far and away. By far and away. No one even comes close. And that is all regular Conqueror's Haki. Allegedly. Because, before we get to that actually, is Shanks talking to Green Bull? This is a bit tricky, obviously, because it could involve the voice of all things. Maybe if he has the voice of all things, like with Haki, you can train it. That one's kind of tough.
Maybe.
You can say that what he's doing is kind of similar to what Luffy did in chapter 1015 when he's talking to Momonosuke telepathically and Lost Crew can hear it underwater. But there's a problem here. One key difference. Shanks is actually physically talking. So how does that work with the voice of all things? Again, maybe there are levels to it, and if you have it, you can train it. That one's a bit iffy and kind of unlikely. Is it possible? Yes. It is undeniably possible that Shanks can have the voice of all things. But is it likely? It kind of feels like it's not likely. So the best option here then is the combination of two Haki types. He is combining Conqueror's Haki with Observation Haki. It's something in the past, I said before, where maybe you can infuse your Conqueror's Haki with your Observation Haki to make it stronger in some capacity. And actually, this idea does stem from what I saw in Power Warriors 3, where in that video game, Shanks can perceive time slower because of his Observation Haki. And so I think that's a really cool ability, and in the future that could happen in the series. And that'll be the result of combining those two Haki types. And so chapter 1055 can be in the same vein where the Conqueror's Haki is boosting the other Haki group. And as a result, unique things are happening. And so let's say in this case, the Black Lightning Google Meets is actually the roadway for Shanks' voice to actually reach Green Bull, and Green Bull can actually hear Shanks talk to him directly through the Black Lightning. However, if Green Bull can actually hear Shanks talk, then maybe Green Bull can actually understand instinctively Shanks' will through that Haki. So they have some sort of connection because of the combination of the observation, the Conqueror's Haki, and then because he understands his intent, his will, that's what it is, Conqueror's Haki, he understands Shanks' will, he backs off. Because he can feel it instinctively. Very possible as well here. Now, here is the last, oh my god, that would be radical hurrah. But it's not, very important here, it's not out of the question. This could be Conqueror's Haki infusion. Not the regular stuff, it could actually be the advanced Conqueror's Haki infusion. But understand this. If Shanks is actually using Conqueror's Haki infusion, that means that Shanks is infusing his will, his Haki, to the very air itself. That would mean that through sheer willpower, he can manipulate matter and channel his Haki or channel matter itself for whatever thing he wants to do. This could be what he did on Whitebeard's ship, because when Shanks was walking off his ship, the ship started to break down. Maybe his Haki was infusing into the actual matter of the ship, the Moby Dick itself. This would mean, in theory, Shanks could destroy cannonballs, Shanks could block bullets, Shanks could divert or snuff out any fire attack, lightning itself, laser beams, without lifting a single finger. And he could attack or defend without having to do a single thing at all. No sword necessary. Just sheer willpower.
Crazy.
I can't imagine. If that's the case, I can't imagine just how radical Shanks would be if he were to infuse all that Haki into Griffin. Oh no. Not the Haki. Shanks, don't do it to him, baby. Don't do it to him. Oh my goodness. At this point in time, Shanks is not just top 1. he might genuinely have the rest of the One Piece verse gapped. It is what it is.